Good evening, I'm John Boss, and this is DV Real News TV. We begin tonight with a deeply distressing story unfolding in West Africa. An unfolding humanitarian crisis in Nigeria's Benue State.
Silence as the graveyard. Thank you very much. First of all, this is my first time in Benue State. Thank you for coming. Now, it is the killing that happened in the other local government that brought me.
Yes.
I swear to God who made me, I didn't know they were protesting. I swear that on my mother.
That's a coincidence.
I only went there to make the video to publish. Why? It's because I have noticed that our media in Nigeria, they no longer...
At least over 100 people are reported dead following a brutal and coordinated attack by unidentified gunmen. The victims, most of whom were innocent civilians, including women, children, and elderly individuals, were allegedly targeted in a wave of violence that swept through several rural communities. Rights organizations, including Amnesty International, have sounded the alarm and issued urgent calls for the Nigerian government to take decisive action to protect vulnerable communities. As of now, there is mounting concern over the security situation in Benue, which has long been a flashpoint for deadly clashes, displacement, and ethnic tension. The carnage occurred earlier this week in the Guma local government area, located in the heart of Benue State, a region already plagued by a history of communal violence. Reports began surfacing late Wednesday night and into the early hours of Thursday, indicating that multiple villages were overrun by heavily armed assailants. Eyewitnesses say the attackers descended under the cover of darkness, setting homes ablaze, firing indiscriminately, and cutting down villagers as they fled. Preliminary reports suggest that some of the victims had previously been displaced by earlier violence and had only recently returned to their communities or were taking shelter in makeshift camps. Local residents, still in shock, described scenes of unspeakable horror. Entire families wiped out, children hunted down in the bush, and homes left smoldering in ashes. DV Real News TV spoke to several survivors who managed to escape the carnage. Among them is 42-year-old Tursar M., who recounted the moment the attackers struck his village of Yelwada. According to one of the survivors said, "They came after midnight. We were sleeping when we heard gunshots. People were running everywhere. I saw them dragging my neighbor's wife and children out of their house. They killed them on the spot. We couldn't save anyone. We just ran into the bush." His voice trembled as he described watching his neighbors die. Many survivors have taken refuge in nearby schools, churches, and IDP camps, where conditions are rapidly deteriorating. Humanitarian aid is scarce, and the fear of renewed violence looms large. In the wake of the massacre, international watchdog Amnesty International released a powerful statement condemning the violence and urging the Nigerian government to do more. The organization said, quote, "The relentless attacks on civilians in Benue must end. These communities have suffered enough. We urge the Nigerian authorities to ensure accountability and restore peace." The spokesperson, Amnesty International, said that the Nigerian state must prioritize the protection of life. These attacks are not new, and the lack of response is unacceptable. We call for a transparent investigation and justice for the victims. In response to the outcry, officials from Nigeria's federal government issued statements condemning the killings. However, critics argue that words are not enough. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, while expressing condolences to the families of the deceased, has been urged to launch a full-scale inquiry and deploy security forces to restore calm in Benue State. According to the presidential spokesperson, I quote, "The federal government is deeply saddened by this senseless loss of life. Measures are being taken to strengthen local security networks. We are coordinating with state authorities to bring the perpetrators to justice. To understand the gravity of this crisis, one must examine the context. Benue State has been the epicenter of deadly conflicts over land, resources, and ethnic tension. The violence is often framed as clashes between nomadic herders and sedentary farmers, but experts argue the issue is far more complex, involving decades of political marginalization, environmental degradation, and poor governance. Dr. R.O., security analyst, said, "Benue's situation is the result of long-standing issues. Competition over dwindling arable land due to desertification, lack of conflict resolution mechanisms, and a state apparatus that is often too weak or too compromised to intervene effectively." Following the latest attack, humanitarian agencies are warning of an escalating crisis. Thousands have been displaced, aid deliveries are being hindered by insecurity, and the threat of disease outbreaks in overcrowded IDP camps is growing. UNICEF officials said, and quote, "We are seeing a spike in children suffering from malnutrition, trauma, and illness. The camps are overstretched and under-resourced. We urgently need support from the international community." The tragedy in Benue has drawn international condemnation. Pope Leo recently led a global prayer for the victims, calling the massacre a brutal and inhumane attack on the most vulnerable. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, is monitoring the situation closely, and several international NGOs are mobilizing emergency response teams. According to Pope Leo, I quote, "I pray for the innocent lives lost in Nigeria, for the many who died while seeking refuge, and for their families. May peace return to Benue. May those responsible be held accountable." As the bloodshed continues, the central question remains: who is behind these attacks, and why are they allowed to continue with apparent impunity? Civil society groups, religious leaders, and international observers are now calling for an independent commission of inquiry and a long-term peace and reconciliation initiative in the Middle Belt. Reverend E.T. We cannot keep burying our people. We need peace, not more guns. Let justice be done so healing can begin. Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, stands at a crossroads. The Benue massacre is not an isolated incident, but part of a grim pattern of violence that has plagued the Middle Belt for years. If left unaddressed, experts warn that such incidents could undermine national cohesion, fuel further ethnic distrust, and even threaten regional stability. Ambassador T.N. Send message, him said. It's time for Nigeria to act. Without accountability, there can be no security. The government must work with traditional leaders, the international community, and civil society to forge a durable peace. As we reflect on the tragic loss of life in Benue, DV Real News TV joins the global call for peace, justice, and an end to senseless bloodshed. These are not just numbers. These are lives, families, futures lost to violence that must be confronted with courage, compassion, and resolve. We will continue to monitor this story and bring you updates as they develop. From all of us here at DV Real News TV, our thoughts are with the victims, survivors, and the people of Nigeria. Tonight, we expose a troubling incident. 6 young Nigerians, returning from a birthday celebration, allege they were victims of harassment, brutality, and forced to pay a staggering 700,000 Nigerian nairas after being detained by police. It's a story that raises questions about justice, personal liberty, and accountability within our policing institutions. Late last week, 6 individuals, friends returning from a birthday party, were stopped by law enforcement. Instead of routine checks, things allegedly escalated. Sources say the group was detained, their phones confiscated, and after hours in custody, they were coerced into handing over 700,000 Nigerian nairas before being released. These accusations point not only to extortion, but reportedly to degrading treatment, raising flags over potential rights violations. The victims said, and I quote, "They demanded money or they'd lock us up till dawn. I was scared. They said things would get worse if we refused. We were never told why we were arrested. They just kept asking for cash." These voices paint a harrowing picture. Detained without charges, forced into a midnight ransom, stripped of possessions, and left traumatized. This isn't a one-off. Nigeria's police have long faced allegations ranging from unlawful stops, brutality, to uncontrolled demands for money, especially from young citizens. For years, movements like #EndSARS have spotlighted systemic abuse, from forced bail payments to violent detentions. While SARS has been officially disbanded, reports like this show such behavior persists in new guises within other units. And recent cases, like the arrest of a lawyer in Enugu who called out extortion, highlight growing tensions. Police response, I quote, "Officials have responded with the usual line. Investigations are ongoing." In Enugu, when a lawyer alleged extortion by police, they denied arresting him, saying he was merely invited for questioning. Yet silence remains on demands for 700,000 Nigerian nairas from 6 civilians. No formal injury reports been filed. No charges brought. No evidence released. Human rights. Legal and civil rights advocates are condemning the incident. According to Civil Liberties Organization, CLO, Chair. If true, this is flagrant abuse, detention without justification, extortion under duress, and possible torture. It violates the Nigerian constitution and international human rights law. These cases feed into larger questions about police reform, enforcement of due process, and the real-world consequences of institutional impunity. The accusations echo complaints from the #EndSARS era. Young Nigerians stopped for being tatted, dressed a certain way, or carrying electronics. Many were asked to pay bribes to avoid prolonged custody or worse. While SARS no longer exists in name, its practices, unwarranted arrests, condoned extortion, lack of accountability, seem to persist, hidden in plain sight. The statistics and systemic. Although official data is scarce, NGOs report these abuses happen daily, ranging from police checkpoints that levy 5,000 Nigerian nairas fines to large sums extorted in custody. A Premium Times exposé detailed how calls for reforms were met with superficial internal reviews. The question is, what's next for the victims? Lawyers are reportedly preparing a petition and considering civil suits. They aim to document injuries and trauma, demand a full police probe, seek restitution for the 700,000 Nigerian nairas paid under coercion. But will the justice system rise to the challenge? History suggests many such cases end in dismissal or alternating low-level settlements. The police force headquarters released a statement emphasizing training, professionalism, and sanctions against officers found wanting. Yet there's no update on this case specifically. The absence of names, case numbers, or formal charges raises concerns that this may be swept under the rug, once again, leaving victims with fragmented justice. These incidents have chilling effects, deterring social activity out of fear, undermining confidence in law enforcement, driving public support for reform, oversight, and independent watchdog bodies. Without intervention, Nigeria risks sliding into deeper mistrust between citizens and authority. Experts and activists urge: reinstate independent police oversight, ensure detained persons can record and access legal support, enforce existing anti-corruption laws targeting public officers, launch psychological and ethical training in police ranks, establish a public database of registered complaints and outcomes. The alternative? Continued fear, bias, and unchecked abuse. Tonight's story isn't just about 6 partygoers and 700,000 Nigerian nairas. It's about the fragile line between security and oppression. When that line is crossed, the consequences ripple across homes, helpless victims, and the very fabric of society. DV Real News TV will continue tracking this case. We'll question authority, show proof, and stand up for those who fear they have no voice. From all of us here, thank you for watching. I'm John Boss. Stay informed, stay safe, and demand accountability from those sworn to protect you. Good night.